Republican Congresswoman Cammack of Florida, member of the House Judiciary Select Subcommittee on the weaponization of the federal government. First, I just got to get right to what William just talked about, because it's actually really hard to believe that this has actually happened. You know, the Biden administration, the Harris-Biden administration announcing yesterday that it is restarting this controversial CHNV program. As William just mentioned, I need to reiterate this because this is staggering. It's going to bring some 400,000 migrants from troubled countries like Venezuela, which is where we just talked about these violent gang members coming from, to the U.S. to live and work here. And those countries also include Cuba, Haiti, and Nicaragua. The restart comes just weeks after halting the program over fraud concerns. I mean, fraud concerns, that's the least of the concerns. We're bringing violent criminals into this country and giving them jobs.
Oh my gosh, Julie, and you know, this breaks my heart. I'm a Colorado native, and growing up, my high school, Douglas County, we played high schools in Aurora, so I'm very familiar with the area. And to see how it has transformed into just an absolute chaotic mess, violent, violence everywhere in the neighborhoods, it really does break my heart. But you've heard me say it before. I'm going to say it again. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And in the case of the sanctuary cities around the country who have been complicit in closing the trafficking circle along with President Biden and Vice President Harris, they are doing the dirty work of the cartels. They have absolutely been responsible for opening up the doors to these violent criminals, where we know in countries like Venezuela, they are emptying their prisons and they are unloading these violent criminals onto our shores. And so it makes absolutely no sense that we have an open border policy, but then to add insult to injury, here we go with a pre-approved authorization for Venezuela, Cuba, Nicaragua. And let's not forget, Julie, that Iran is sending people to Venezuela, where Venezuela is then giving them documentation so that they can come into our country. It's absurd.
I got to bring up the interview last night, because she was in fact asked about her record when it comes to illegal immigration. And she loved to talk about how when she was Attorney General and the work that she did there in order to guarantee that illegal immigrants that came and committed crimes here in this country would have to pay the price and they would be punished. That's not true. And I appreciate that Dana Bash brought it up, but she didn't follow through. What about all the illegal immigrants that, she went ahead and put them behind bars? They were right out because she, in fact, signed a policy that would not only allow them to get out back into the workforce and give them jobs, they would get job training, and on good behavior, they would expunge their record. Just like William was just saying, there's no criminal background, so you can't even track these people once they're arrested and let back into society. That's her record. I mean, let's talk about record, because that's not what I heard on that interview yesterday.
No, exactly right, Julie. I mean, Kamala Harris has a record of failing up. That is her legacy, failing up. And when there is a problem, she deflects and pushes the blame somewhere else. She is never one to take responsibility for her actions or her failures. And so when you ask people, what has she accomplished? They can't name a single thing that is positive. They can only point to a broken border system, 200,000 children, unaccompanied children who have been shoved across our borders, who the administration was responsible for and subsequently lost. Of course, 10.5 million illegals paroled into the United States, on top of the 2 million gotaways that are gang members, sex offenders, and drug dealers. This is absurd, and it has turned every border town, every state and town in America into a border town. It's absurd.
I want you to listen to this feisty back and forth in a CNN interview. A CNN anchor and former Trump comms director sparred over Kamala Harris's border czar title. Let's watch this.
I know there's this whole nomenclature about border czar, but that was the language that was used at the time.
Her purview, just to be clear, was looking at the drivers of immigration.
I know we can.
The Northern Triangle.
I don't even really want to argue about this, because it's.
I hear what you're saying, Mike.
At the time, it was reported, and I'm going to be clear. At the time it was recorded, even CNN called her a border czar. So we're really. We can argue about that. I find that.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, I think we can go back and double check that.
We'll go back and double check it.
wait a second. First of all, not only did CNN call her a border czar, the White House called her a border czar. That was the job that she was given. That was her title, in fact, that was officially released by the White House, which is why we've been talking about it so much, because she did nothing as the border czar. But there's also plenty of evidence that tells a different story. Now watch this.
This will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the border czar.
These questions have continued to dog her amid Republican attacks and attempts to conflate her position dealing with the root causes of migration as being some kind of border czar.
I think that the White House hasn't necessarily set her up well. So the border, if they weren't planning to address it in a major way, do not make her your border czar.
Quite frankly, there has been so much criticism against Kamala Harris. You know, she was the border czar.
Okay, so CNN did call her the border czar. I correct myself. The White House did not. They didn't want to call her the border czar, but they did appoint her in charge of the border. And her job, border czar or no border czar, she was appointed the job to find out what the root cause was of illegal immigration. That was her job, and she did not fulfill it. They aren't the only network, in fact, that called Harris the border czar. Here it is.
I think Joe Biden has gone there once. Kamala Harris, who was appointed as the border czar, hasn't gone there at all.
Becoming, the unofficial border czar.
I think most Americans think it's pretty disgraceful, Martha, that you've been to the border more than Kamala Harris, and she's supposed to be the border czar.
Okay, so what do you want to call her? I mean, if there's a title, what would it be?
Quite frankly, Julie, I don't think Americans really give a damn what her title was. And if they want to argue and spar over whether she was or not the border czar, the fact remains is that everyone cannot deny the fact, because they've admitted it, that she was in charge of the root causes of the border.
Sounds like a border czar to me.
Vice
I mean, isn't that the definition?
We know she was the border czar. That's what they were calling her. But people want to push back on it. Fine. Now look at what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're importing the root causes of the border. She was supposed to be addressing ways to actually keep people in their home countries so that we wouldn't be seeing these mass floods of people at our southwest border. So I think it's ridiculous. We know what's true. The American people are not dumb, and they'll vote accordingly come November.
Congresswoman Cammack, always great to see you. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.